So welcome, and thanks for coming to our session on learning Salesforce your own way. It's the end of a really long week, lots of information, lots of fun, hopefully, and we're glad that you fit us in to the end. They did save the best for last.
That's right.
Yeah. Paula and I came to know Salesforce from different angles, different backgrounds, and a different journey to get to where we are today. And we're going to tell you a little bit about the tall and the short of it. So first, introductions. My name is Nikki Van Kirk, and I live and work just north of Vancouver, BC, up in Canada. My career started with KPMG as a business analyst with Pivotal CRM. Anybody heard of Pivotal CRM anymore these days? A Vancouver native? Yeah, not so much. In 2002, I ran into Salesforce.com, and I came down here for their 5-day admin boot camp. So back then, that was enough time to learn everything there was to know about Salesforce, which was basically a few pick lists, create a user, and import your Outlook contacts. And that was it. And nowadays, as you're probably experiencing here, 5 days is just enough time to really be overwhelmed with all the things that you have to learn. 2004, I broke out on my own, and I started implementing Salesforce full-time. And then things started to get interesting. They came out with this thing called Visual Force, and Apex Triggers, and Force.com sites. And it soon became clear to me that I could only take my clients so far with clicks, and thus my journey to learn how to code. And I'm going to turn over to Paula, my esteemed colleague, who incidentally, we just met this summer over the success community, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, at a group called the Girly Geeks. Just a quick show of hands. Is everyone here that's part of the Girly Geeks? Yay, good. And it shows the power of the collaboration, because we actually just met in person 4 days ago, and this whole presentation was cooked up over GoToMeeting and the phone. So, okay, Paula.
Hi, my name's Paula, and this is my first Dreamforce. I feel really privileged to be here, although now that I've been here 4 days, I feel like I'm an old-timer. Anyway, it's great. I first ran into Salesforce when I worked at a company called Job Science. I was their SQL DBA, and quite frankly, I was a little scared because they were moving to this platform called Salesforce. And that meant they were going to take my data away from me, I thought. But we had a lot of clients and a lot of databases, and somebody had to move all that data. And that somebody was me. And so I'm really grateful for the experience that I had over the years of moving literally millions of rows of data from probably every database you can imagine. We had something, from Excel spreadsheets to Oracle to SQL Server to some real homegrown stuff. Anyway, and had to map and migrate it into Salesforce. So I've got millions of rows of data that I moved into orgs all over the world. Almost any database you can think of, we did. Last December, I was reading a blog by Cheryl Feldman, a girly geek. She had posted her journey on how to get to Salesforce, or how she got to Salesforce, and it inspired me to the point where I realized that I'd been dancing with Salesforce for a long time, and it was time for me to take it seriously. And so I announced to the world, well, all of Twitter anyway, that I was going to become a developer. So I worked my normal day job, and then every night I would go home and study for 2 hours. And some nights I didn't quite make the 2 hours, and other nights I did, but I never, ever gave up. So, learning your own way can be very scary. Nikki and I both came to Salesforce from different directions, and many times it could feel like this. Oh my. I mean, I know you've seen these videos, these tutorials and that's how it felt sometimes. Nikki was really skilled at the front end stuff. She had taken her admin training. She knew what she was doing with that. And she had to venture into that scary world of code. You really want to pay attention closely. She's got some amazing tricks. I've learned a lot just working on this video with her, or this presentation with her. my journey was a little different. Code didn't scare me, all of that stuff, the back end, because I dealt with it every day in my world. But the front end, oh my gosh, the user, I avoided the UI at all costs. So I had to learn things like page layouts, record types, roles, you name it. Not the stuff that I was used to. We're going to both share our journey, how we got here, and the tools that we found. And hopefully we'll save somebody down here some pain of looking. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to Nick.
Okay, I will now draw an owl.
Yeah.
Okay, so as I started to want to go into this world of code, I found for me the best way to learn was to try. So one of the first things I did, and I recommend everyone do if you haven't, is to get yourself a developer org. And this is not just for coders, this is for anyone. So you go to developer.salesforce.com and you can click the sign up. And you can actually have multiple dev orgs if you'd like. So once I got my dev org, I started to go through some of the workbooks. There's quite a few here available in the library if you haven't had a chance to get one. And I would run through all the examples in my dev org and try to figure out how it all worked. I also went to as many hands-on sessions as I could at Dreamforce, and hopefully, again, you guys, I was mad that we were at the end because I have all these tips for things you should do here, and it's too late. But anyway, hopefully you attended some of those hands-on trainings, and I would grab all the handouts I could. I would even email myself the code samples right from in the session so I could look at it later. And those things really helped me to understand how things hung together. But I had a hard time when I was starting my own trigger or my own piece of code. Like, do I need a set? Do I need a list? What's this trigger.old map? And how do I use that? So I really needed to look at some examples. And so what I really like doing is stealing other people's code. It's true. And StackExchange is an awesome resource. So there's hundreds of packages, or hundreds of apps, on StackExchange that you can download. And the unmanaged package was my best friend. So an unmanaged package is one that you can download into your org, and then you can look at all the code, you can change it, you can play with it, as opposed to a managed package, which you can download into your org. You see the name of the trigger, but that's all you can see. So unmanaged were awesome. So I would take a look for these unmanaged packages, anything that looked interesting or even close to what it was I was trying to do, and I would download them into my dev org and pull them apart. Now you have to know, not everybody's code is, top quality and what you'd want to base your own code on, but it does give you lots of ideas on how to get started. And there is a brand called Force.com Labs, which you'll see has a blue beaker icon. And that is a brand of apps that was put together by Salesforce employees that they used them in their own org, some missing feature or functionality. And then they thought, hey, this is kind of cool. Maybe somebody in the Salesforce community would like it, and so they would post it. So those ones are usually pretty good quality. And another thing I would do when I download those, once I figured out how it worked, is I would do a lot of commenting. And I'll show you some screenshots of that, but you want to comment as much as possible. I really recommend it. It's a way, not only to sort of break up dizzying amounts of code, but also when you go back again, a day, a month later, it's all written in your own words, what is happening in the code. So I took a couple screenshots to show you what I'm talking about. So this is an app on StackExchange that I was looking at for a client a couple months ago. This one essentially a list of leads that are all at the same company, check off the boxes, and you can convert them all at the same time, creating new contacts and an opportunity if you want. So to find these unmanaged packages, you can actually search for the keyword of unmanaged. And there's also a filter on the left-hand side for free, and sometimes the free apps are also unmanaged. Those are a good place to look. So to tell if it's managed or unmanaged, you can click on the Details tab. And you can see on the right-hand side, this one shows that it's an unmanaged package. And also on this tab, you're going to find any links to documents that the app developer put together, like install guides or user guides or some really good information about the app that you're going to download. So once you download that into your dev org, you can go to the list of installed packages and click on the package you just downloaded, and then click on View Components. So that's going to give you a list of everything that's in this app. In this package. So here you can see there's a controller class, there's a test class, there's a visual force page, and then there's a button which presumably kicks off all this good logic. And then one last screenshot to show you. This is the developer console. So this is actually the controller class I'm looking at. And you can see at the top, my client wanted the option to not create tasks, so I added that in there. And then I also found they were running into some limit issues. And so I did a bunch of research of why are they doing this in the second part. So I just put in my own words what it was I was finding out about this so that if I went back, I would remember what it was. So that's a quick example. There's really literally hundreds of awesome apps out there that you can use, even just to get some ideas. So I encourage you to take a look there. And now over to Paula for her top tip.
Yes, top tip number 1, ask for help. Be social. The first place to look is your local users group. You really want to join and attend their events. These groups are everywhere, so you shouldn't have any problem finding one. If you don't find one, start one. But these are places where you can share ideas, network, see different tips. You learn a lot just by being there. The second place that I found to be very helpful to me was Twitter. The first Twitter handle that I followed was @Salesforce. And then I watched the timeline. And anyone that was posting really good stuff, I followed those leaders. And then I went to this hashtag, askforce.com. If you ever get stuck on trying to develop something and you've tried and you need help right now, like it's Sunday night, you need help right now, usually if you'll just tweet your problem out to AskForce, somebody, the super users and MVPs monitor this, and they'll come right back and answer you. And I've gotten a lot of help from them that way. Probably the most valuable place you're going to find is right in your org. Up in that little right-hand corner, there's a link called Help and Training. And here, this screen is so big I had to split it in half. But the top half of the screen contains quick links, knowledge. You can search for knowledge. You can look for documents. You can ask questions here and search for your answer. You can also contact support and open a case right from this page. It's usually a really good idea. The bottom half of the page, over on the left-hand side, you'll see training. All these videos are invaluable. If you haven't gone through them all, you really should. They teach you a lot. Then there's Help TV, of course, and more videos. And then you'll see what problems or questions that people are asking right now, and there's a trending place for those. And again, the most important or most valuable thing that I found on here were the quick starts. If there's a subject that you want to understand from start to finish, open the quick start and go through step by step. By the time you finish, in most cases, you'll have acquired a new skill. My company wanted to roll out Service Cloud. I opened up the Service Cloud quick start and did through the steps, and I rolled it out. So, I mean, that's how you can do it. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Nikki.
So as I started working on more code, I found that I kept coming across pieces of code or things I wanted to do that I knew I'd done before. I couldn't quite remember how to do that. Things like, if you have a Visual Force page, how do you make that little red bar show up if you don't want to make the field actually required, but just look required? Or the spinning icon when you've got something loading, how do you do that? It's really simple and I can never remember. So what I needed was a reference library of my own. And I have a Salesforce org, so I thought, why not take advantage of solutions? So I created some categories, things like Visual Force or JavaScript or web services or different categories of things. And then I started uploading and adding snippets of code and examples. You can actually download a class right from, there's a button that says download, creates a text file for you. Cut and paste things, anything that you've written or you've compiled or you've found, someone else wrote, that you think is useful, that you might use again, put that into solutions so that you can find it. And if you don't have an org, or if your dev org is running out of space, really any kind of a knowledge base would do. You can set up files under folder structures, put it on Google Drive. You can even have a big old Word document where you just list topics and cut and paste code. Whatever you do, you really want to make sure you have lots of keywords so that you can find it. Nothing more frustrating than knowing I put it somewhere and now I can't find it. So that was really helpful. And when I would go back to those, it was really helpful for me to see it in my own words. So I would, in my own words, explain what it was that I was doing, which helped when I came back. Another thing I have is a very busy bookmark bar on my Chrome browser. I have links to a whole bunch of the developer guides that Salesforce puts out, and there's some really great ones. I've got Apex and Visualforce and Sockwool, API guide, communities, whatever you're looking at. The API guide has actually got a hidden gem, I think. Sounds boring, it just lists tables and fields, but if you look at an object in Salesforce and look at all the standard fields, sometimes the field actually has a different name in the background than what you see. And actually there's sometimes other fields available that you can access through code that aren't even in the list. So API guide is an awesome reference, gives you all the tables, all the fields, how you can use them. That's really good. Also the developer community has been a great resource, and the blog. So you can sign up and follow their blog, and you get some really good tips in your inbox. And also the developer community has been amazing. I would post, or I would even just Google an error message I came across or a question I had, and I'd find countless hits on the developer community of people, questions and answers. And as I got more confident in my own coding, I actually started answering some of those questions, which was a really good practice because I didn't want to put buggy code up there. So I'd get my developer org out and I would set up whatever the scenario was people were asking about, try out some kind of solution and paste the trigger or the code or whatever it was back in the answer. So it was a great way to practice, and it was a great way to give back for me to a community that I had gotten so much out of. Also, finding a mentor. This is really key, especially if you're starting to take on a project that has code in it and it's your first one. For me, I was working on my own, so if I had a project that had code, I was the one responsible at the end of the day. And I had a couple people that in my network that I could call on, especially on those Sunday nights when I had something due the next day and I was super stuck. And so finding a mentor is I think, a really crucial part of your journey to take the next step with a little more confidence. So think about, who's in your network today, who works at your company, or who's, in one of the communities that you look up to or has the skill that you're trying to develop, and ask. There probably weren't. I didn't see anyone here with a sign saying, "Ask me to be your mentor. I'm here at Dreamforce." So you have to ask. But you'll be surprised, I think, at what people they might feel honored. They may say no. That's okay. But think about, what kind of time commitment are you looking for? What kind of skills are you looking to develop? And how would you want to work with that person? An email once a week or a phone call, whatever, and just put it out there. And another resource I found here that didn't make the slide deck is the certification study groups. So if you go onto the Success community and look for group, there's one called Salesforce Certification Study Group. And this is a group that you can join if you're going to want to work towards getting a certification, like your admin certification. And it's awesome because you are grouped with the people that are all going for the same goal, and you work together on a weekly basis. It's a really good structure for you if you don't have a lot of support in your community that have the skills that you're looking for. That's a good group to look for. Okay, back to Paula.
Okay, my rule number 2, follow the advice of the MVPs. The MVPs, who are these people, you might ask? Well, they're the superstars of Salesforce. They're my heroes. If you want to know what they do and what they stand for and how they contribute, you want to go to www.salesforce.com/MVP. Here it explains everything about how they became MVPs, how they contribute. A lot of valuable stuff here. Also, the MVP office hours. It's a bi-weekly presentation that they put together and answer questions. If you can attend the live session, it's very valuable. But if you can't, they do post the video or the recording later on. You don't want to miss it. The other thing I found was following some of those MVPs blogs. One of my favorites is David Liu's SFDC 99. I always mess that up, but I said it right. Okay. Anyway, he's developed a blog that has step-by-step instructions on how to become a developer. He pretty much guarantees, I think he does guarantee, that if you do everything that he has here, step-by-step, that you too can become a developer. In his very first lesson, lesson 0, he had this class, Udacity's Intro to Point-and-Click App Development. You really want to take this class. Here, Samantha Reddy and Andy Brown show you how to build an app with no code required. They walk you through it. It's a fun app. You end up building your own app to manage a music festival. You have your bands and your stages and all of the stuff that goes with it. I even had a maintenance guy had to go dig when the fat lady fell through the stage. It was fun. But anyway, you build your app, and then at the end they show you how to move that from desktop to a phone app. So it was really a great class to take. Another resource I found valuable was the StackExchange. Here, if you've tried a lot of code and you can't get it to work, I mean, you've got a problem, you can't find a solution, this is a place where these are the really heavyweight geeks, I call them. These guys really know their stuff. And you can go on here, and if you see something, you can even answer questions here and get some points. So you even got a little badge. It's great. It's a great place to go. One thing that you really, really need to remember is you are never, ever alone in this community, ever. Cheryl's blog was the one that I read last December that inspired me to take this whole thing seriously. Last March, things got really rough with my job, with trying to learn. I felt like I was never going to get this stuff. I was ready to just give it up. Who did I think I was, going to become a developer? Yeah, right. I just couldn't get there. Well, that March, Cheryl posted the right thing again, and all it takes is one yes. If you've not read this one, you probably really want to do yourself a favor and read it. I read it, I had a good cry, and then I went on Twitter and thanked Cheryl for writing it. I don't know if I've ever thanked Cheryl enough, but thank you again, Cheryl, for writing this. She touched my heart. Okay. And we're going to have some parting thoughts now, I think.
And before we move on, I also wanted to say that Paula just did pass her Dev 401 certification like a few weeks ago. So awesome. You are a developer.
I am a developer now, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So wrapping up, there is a lot of great resources out there, a lot of great paid courses you can take, reference guides. There's actually some really cool laminated cheat sheet cards you can get, and all of those are great. We've really found that the open source mentality of Salesforce and the generosity of the community really makes Salesforce a great tool for people who are motivated to learn on their own time and on their own dime. So some wrapping up thoughts. Beg, borrow, steal. Take other people's code. Don't reinvent the wheel. Use the App Exchange and look for those unmanaged packages. They're really, really good resources. Also, keep a lot of the links to the Salesforce developer guides handy. And I always use the HTML link rather than downloading the PDF because they're always updating those guides, all the new releases, and even throughout, between a release cycle, they're updating with new information. So you want to have the latest and the greatest. Building up your knowledge base. Figure out a way that works for you to keep track of the code pieces you write or the cool ones that you found, something that's searchable that you can find when you're looking for them. And find a mentor. It's really key, I think, to take that next step with some confidence is to find someone who'll help, just at the right time, give you the right pointer in the right direction. And then again, take a look for that the certification study group when you're ready to start looking into studying for those.
And my top 3 are Help and Training Portal, that little right-hand link up in the right-hand corner of your org. Click on that. Take all of those training classes. The classes are great. Ask for help. Be social and reach out. You got to get involved. You have to network. You build some relationships. Everybody needs help sometime. There are no dumb questions. I was stuck like crazy on roles and profiles. I reached out to the Twitterverse, and people answered me, and you know what? I was able to get my problem solved with the help of the community. You want to use the quick starts. They're really powerful. They walk you through from start to finish on any one of these topics that you want to take. You can be a hero, like I was at my work.
So we just finished off with a list of some of the resources we talked about, and we'll put this also in the chatter feed of the session. Now, if you are following the session, I did say that I had some prizes to give out for questions, and those prizes were given away yesterday at a Women in Technology networking, but we still would love questions. So if you have any questions and you're brave, there's a mic in the front, and we'll be hanging around at the end too if you wanted to come up and ask us a secret question. We answer those too. And thanks so much for your attention, and have safe travels home. And if anyone has questions, please. There we go. Awesome.
It's not a question so much as just a resource I wanted to add. If anybody works with nonprofit organizations, the Power of Us Hub is a really great resource, powerofus.salesforce.com. They have a lot of stuff for people asking specific questions to the nonprofit starter pack, NGO Connect, stuff like that. So that's also it.
Great. Thanks for that.
Thank you.
Great. Anyone else have any good resources to add? I mean, that's valid too. No? Okay. Well, thanks again for your time and attention. Safe travels home. Thanks.